Hi guys, it's me, R.S.19, and welcome to another car reveal. And today it is the all new 2019 Renault car, the R.S.19. And today, me and Nib are going to analyse this car, look at the livery, and look, more importantly, at the new aero pieces on the all new Renault car that Daniel Ricciardo will be driving in 2019. Hopefully you guys are doing well. And yeah, I cannot wait to get into this and look at what Renault have to offer with their 2019 car. And again, hopefully you are doing well and you're excited to see this new Renault car. I do have a couple of different angles of the car, so don't worry, you'll see more than just this in this video. But as ever, just like yesterday and with the Haas car reveal, I do have Nib below along with me. And Nib, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, mate, and I'm very excited about this brand new Renault.
Yep, I am as well, and I've been waiting to see this for quite a while because I am a bit excited about Renault for 2019, and I'll just get onto this straight away, and I think you can make your points about this if you want, Nib, but this is easily the best livery that we've seen so far. Way better than the Haas, in my opinion, definitely the Williams of yesterday. The second best livery we've seen so far is probably the Toro Rosso, but this is the best livery we have seen so far. But of course, we still have plenty of teams to come later this week. But yeah, when it comes to livery, Nib, the Renault is the best we have seen so far.
Yeah, quite clearly. It's just a very neat, beautiful design. Although they have changed one or two things. Inside of the rear wing is yellow now, when that was black last year.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if I'm a bit of a fan of that, but you know, it looks nice. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of this livery, and absolutely the best livery that we have seen so far. Miles better than the abomination that we've seen from Williams yesterday. You know, better than the Toro Rosso and better than the Haas. So absolutely the best livery we have seen so far.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about that in my opinion, but of course you guys, I'm sure, have different opinions, so let us know in the chat or the comments if you think this is the best livery so far or not. But let's go into the aerodynamics of the car and the new aero pieces on the Renault. So let's look first off at the front wing, and you can see differences with the 2018 front wings and 2019 front wings, but to me, this is the only angle I could really find at the moment of the front end of the car, but it looks to me as though Renault's front wing is more developed so far, and this, by the way, is not the actual real car. This is a CGI render of the Renault, but the front wing to me looks a bit more developed than the the Haas front wing that they showed, or the Toro Rosso, or the Williams. This actually does look a bit more developed, and you can tell that it is a bit more simple from that angle. And if I just switch to this side-on shot, I think I can't quite. Let me just zoom in a bit towards the barge board area. I think they haven't really touched it. I'm not quite sure. It's very hard with this color scheme that they have gone for with the barge board color and the color of the car. It is a bit harder to tell the exact placement and how the barge boards have been designed and stuff like that. But you don't really notice them on the side of the Renault, say like you did last year, for example. So yeah, you can't really notice them massively. You can notice them a bit if you really do look, but it's not it's not sticking out like a sore thumb or anything like that. Nib, when it comes to the barge boards, front wing, rear wing, or the rear end of the car, or even the side pods, has there been anything so far that you've noticed about the 2019 Renault?
The barge board area is certainly looking a lot more developed than it say was this time last year, and I must say the front wing does look very different compared to any other team. Towards the end plate, it looks like it's going in a curve downwards,
Yeah.
whereas that has not been the case with most of the other teams. So definitely a lot different here, and it's also quite odd. I've had to absolutely expose the photos like so I can see it better because it is very hard to see the detail of the area on this car. And just if you go, yep, okay, stay on that shot you're on at the moment. Um, it looks like there's there's like a new side pod inlet just from the actual barge board design itself. It looks pretty cool. Just underneath the first suspension rod. It
I think I
it
see it,
looks
yeah.
it yeah, that I think that looks pretty cool. But in terms of the side pods, pretty similar with the old side pods. So very standard there. And it does look better than last year in that side pod area for me with the Renault, of course. With looking at the overhead shot now on my screen at least, um, got the nice Coke bottle shape, not as aggressive as Toro Rosso really with the undercut from the side pod yesterday, but still a very nice packaged rear end of the car, and it really does show off how beautiful this car is.
Yeah, it does. I I have noticed that the rear end of the car, the more I look at it, it does look very beautiful around that and around that area, and looks a bit better packaged than say the front of the car. But I just want to go back, and I think you can kind of see what you were talking about with the curves on the outer end plate on this image I've now got up. The first one, you can kind of see it, and yeah, you didn't see this with Haas, you didn't see this with Toro Rosso or Williams, and it looks as though they have, say, a solution to the loss of front downforce that is coming with these new regulations. And also with this, you'd expect them to do something like this because they need to try and find that downforce and get it back. And I'm sure Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, maybe even McLaren are going to have similar things to that. But if I go back onto this front shot, compared to a team like, again, like Haas, there seems to be a lot more development in these front areas of the car than we saw with the Haas. Again, this is only a CGI render, just like the Haas car, but there does seem to be more development. You can visually see it in certain areas of the car. And again, you can look at the, actually, I'm going to go back. And yeah, you can see, if you look at the side pods, again, teams are tending to copy Ferrari in terms of designing the side pods. Ferrari were very good in this area in 2018, and it was expected that teams would try to copy what they were doing, and that's what we've seen basically with every reveal so far. I don't know if Williams have copied it. I'm assuming they are. We didn't really get a real good look at their actual new 2019 car, but the Toro Rosso and the Haas car, you could see that they were going for something similar, but with the Renault, they are going with a similar side pod. And I'll just bring up a side shot again and again around the rear end of the car. It does look nicely packaged, and you can kind of tell that the side pods are different from the side on angle, but it's better from this angle to tell the differences between last year's, say, Renault car and this year's Renault car. But if I just go back to this, I want to show a comparison of last year's Renault and this year's Renault and kind of show the differences in terms of the new regulations and really, you know, the differences in terms of detail, especially on the front wing. because that is one thing I have noticed when I compare the cars that have been revealed so far to the cars, the same cars of last year. There's a lot less detail on the front wing. And I've also noticed, I don't know if you have, Nib, but of course, for this year, I've just noticed this when looking at the front wing. Those curves, the front wings this year have to be, I think, isn't it to the outer edge of the tyre, I believe. That's the width of the front wing that it has to be. I think that's what it
Yes.
has to be, yeah. If you look at it, what they've done, very smart, is the outer edge of the front wing is that curved end plate. It's not actually the end of the front wing. So they've kind of been a bit cheeky there, but it works. It clearly works. You can see, if you look, the end plates, the outer curved end plates are bang in line with the outer part of the tyre. So that does work. I've just noticed that. So yeah, interesting there by Renault. But yeah, look at this front wing in terms of in terms of its detail. And then this is last year's front wing. So you can see the front wing from 2018, not as wide, and again, a lot more detailed on the front wing of the car from 2018 compared to 2019. So again, the 2018 front wing, not as wide and a lot more detail. And if you look at now this year's front wing, it is wider, even though they haven't gone fully as wide as maybe, or as Haas or Toro Rosso did with their front wing to the outer edge of the tyre. They've used these end plates to do that, but you can tell that they are wider. And also, look at the detail in the front wing. It's a lot simpler than this 2018 front wing, a lot simpler and a lot less detail compared to the 2018 front wing. And when it comes to the livery, if we look at this, there's no, except for the front wing, there was some slight yellow parts on the front wing. There's no real difference in terms of the livery, but they didn't need to go for a different livery because it worked. It did work. They didn't need to go for a different livery for 2019. So again, you can see there's slight differences on the colouring of the front wing. And here is another shot of last year's Renault. And yeah, you can tell as well. Let me try and get a picture to kind of show you guys the differences in the barge board area of the car. So you can see the barge boards down where they were last year, a lot further back than it has to be this year, and also higher. And then if we look at this year's, you can see that they are lower and they're not as noticeable as last year's barge board. So you can see the difference. It's not massive, but you can see the difference if you really look for it. And again, if you look at this old 2018 front wing, you can tell the difference again in detail compared to the new Renault. But there is, guys, your 2019 Renault car, the R.S.19. Hopefully for Renault, they can close the gap to Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. More importantly, Red Bull, because they are the next target in terms of the Constructors' Championship. And realistically, they are the next target. Nib, what are your hopes for this season? And with what you've seen so far, does this get you more hyped for 2019? And again, what are your real hopes realistically for 2019?
This has certainly got me very hyped indeed. I'm very excited by this front wing. It's very different to anything else that we've seen so far with the 2019 cars. But the realistic expectation is still fourth this season for Renault, getting closer to Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes is what they have to do. I say that they have to halve that gap and look to be right up there with them in the following season. And I think that is realistic for Renault. They're throwing a lot of money now at this sport once again since they brought back the team, and it's certainly very exciting times. And actually, just looking at this photo, it's very noticeable their rake of the car. It looks like they've gone for a much higher rake
Yeah, it does. I've just seen that. Yeah.
than previous years. Of course, we will see officially what the rake numbers are because everyone goes on about how Red Bull's rake is ridiculous, but um, it's not actually that high. It's just because of the rear ride height being so high. That's why the Red Bull rake looks ridiculously good. But yeah, Renault, they have to improve, have to get closer to Red Bull and the top three. And I do still expect them to come fourth and maybe a cheeky podium this year for the French outfit.
Yeah, hopefully they can at least have a race or two where they compete for a podium. But yeah, as you said, if they half the gap pace-wise and points-wise in the constructors between them and Red Bull. So, for example, if they are 3/4 of a second a lap slower than Red Bull and are, I don't know, 100 to 150 points behind Red Bull in the constructors and finish fourth, that is at least, at the absolute least, a good season. Anything more than that is good to great. Anything less than that, though, is, I'm afraid, not good enough. They have to close the gap to Red Bull. And I know 3/4 of a second a lap, that is a lot in F1, but you have to remember, in 2018, Red Bull were gaining probably 1.5 seconds a lap over Renault in terms of aerodynamics, really alone, because I think the Renault car, you'd expect the Renault car, because it's the works team compared to last year, and Red Bull had the Renault power unit, you would expect Renault to have a very slight straight line speed advantage because they would be using all the new upgrades for the Renault power unit and stuff like that. And Red Bull didn't always use the new upgrades, but yeah, they have a lot of work to do, a lot to make up when it comes to aerodynamics and chassis, about 1.5 seconds from 2018. And yeah, if they half that to 7 or 8 tenths of a second, then I think that'd be good enough pace-wise for Renault. If they do get a podium, and I think there is a chance they can, then yeah, that would be successful enough for Renault in 2019. But I also do agree, for 2020, they do need to start really competing seriously with whoever is third fastest in 2020. We'll have to see. But guys, we have just analysed and showed you the new 2019 Renault car. But now, in the chat and the comment section right now, let me know what you think of the new car. Let me know what you think of the new aero pieces, like the barge boards, front wing, rear wing, side pods, stuff like that. And also, let me know, out of 10, how do you rate this livery? For me, I would go for a 8, I'd probably say. I could only really go for an 8 at most. I don't think this is a 9 or a 10, but it is better than the Haas and the Toro Rosso and the Williams. And I think we gave the Toro Rosso yesterday a 7. So I'd have to give this an 8 out of 10. Nib, what is this for you out of 10?
I'm gonna go an 8.25 out of 10. I think it's just a little bit better than an 8, but it's not outrageously good that I can give it any higher than that. So it's definitely a nice looking car. So that's why I'm giving it an 8.25.
Right, okay. But yeah, that's our ratings of the new Renault livery. Let us know in the chat and in the comment section as well. And in a minute, I'll start reading through your comments and see what you guys think. But just to let you guys know, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. All during this week, we are going to be covering the car reveals live on the channel. So don't forget to subscribe if you're new. You can either do it on the bottom right of the screen, click subscribe right there, or click on my channel name, go to the channel page and subscribe and hit the notifications bell for more content like this. But now I'm going to read out as many comments as I can. And also, I'll say this again, I said this yesterday, if there is any, if you want to see a different angle of the Renault car, let me know in the chat. And then I'll bring up a different angle. I only have 3, which is like a semi side-on angle, then a front angle and a side angle. I don't unfortunately have a rear facing angle at the moment. But yeah, if you want to see a different angle, then just put in the chat and I'll switch to a different one. Right, let's now go through an absolute ton of comments. So Brotaku, Renault are a closer team. They don't do massive things, but add small things that they know works. It will benefit them in the long run. Yeah, I kind of agree with your point. I do. Mario Master, tomorrow's the triple header. Mercedes, Red Bull, and Racing Point. Yep, tomorrow's going to be very busy, especially on this channel. Timmy says the livery is looking like they know what they are doing, front and back of house. Brotaku talking there about the Red Bull reliability was their own fault, like McLaren when they blamed Honda. Nature says and is commenting on the aerodynamics of the car. He says Renault 2019 F1 car has taken some inspirations from Ferrari, seeing the higher mounted side pod openings. Yeah, we've analysed that, and that is true. And crash structure, and from Red Bull at the top of the side pods where the bell at Rose sponsor. I can't quite see that, but yeah, they have copied Ferrari, no doubt about it. When it comes to the side pods, they have copied Ferrari. And you're going to see that pretty much with every car reveal. All the teams going for that. For Taku, I do think Renault is second best livery. I have to go with Haas because JPS Lotus flashbacks. Okay. Nick says, isn't the launch at 2:30 UK time? No, this is the Renault car. The at 2:30 UK time, what they're doing, Renault, I think on Facebook, is they're doing a live interview with both drivers. This is actually the new car. The launch has happened about half an hour ago, I'd say. J. Crail, I think that says. Sorry if I've mispronounced that. It says, not a Renault fan, but I want to see Renault win. Yeah, I think we all do. Robert Evans, it looks really sturdy. I think they are in for a great year. Go, Danny Rick. You go, girl. Timmy says, Renault podium most likely in Monaco and China. I'd say Baku, maybe as well Canada. As possible places for podiums. Right, let me just look at some more comments. Right, let me read out some ratings out of 10 for this livery. So, Fraser McInnes, 7 out of 10. Jordan Snow. Jordan Snow says 7.5. Mario Master says 7.5. Jay Crail, 7. Spider Monkey, 7. Nature says 8. Timmy says 8.5. Astro Stevo says 9. Mustafa says 9. Hold on a minute, just missed a comment then. Soul says, I like the yellow at the inside of the rear wing. I think you said, Nib, it was a different thing they've gone for, and you can kind of see that on this current picture I've got up. You can kind of see it, and it actually looks, for me, quite good. Let me just try and shrink this so you can get the full car in, hold on a minute, in the picture. So there you go. You can see a bit more, you know, the side of the front wing there. Right. Let me take a look at some more comments. Nib, if you have the top view, make sure to send it to me on Twitter, and I'll try and put it in this if I can. Formula One fan says I will go 8 as it pans. Haas, but is a Red Bull looking car. Aero, I think it is. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Surprisingly, I've gone for a high rate concept. Mark Hughes wrote an article, intimating that that teams might move towards a low rake, long wheelbase concept. Yeah, that is a bit surprising, but there's got to be some kind of method behind that madness, if it is madness. So, yeah, we'll see how that works out for them. Xander says it's legit, the same as last year. With the livery, yeah, it is, but for me, that's absolutely fine. The livery doesn't need to be different. It's absolutely fine. I really do. Really do like this livery. Danny Yoon says it's quite a lot of rake. Someone else there saying this car is looking like a Danny Ricks stamp licker. Let me just try and find some more comments. Someone saying there, copycat Red Bull. They will always be laggards. Annette saying the car and livery just makes the car flow. Right, Nib, if you want a minute, just continue reading out some comments if you can, so I can get this top view.
Yep. Okay. We have Robert Evans saying, I don't like how the mirrors are standard and no aero, but love everything else. Al Martin says, am I the only one who thinks the engine intake is really small?
A bit, yeah.
Let me have a look. Yeah, it is a little bit, but that's what they try and do. They try to push the boundaries now in Formula One, and well, not now. They always have. So definitely, Nature's Suman, as we've alluded to already. Side pods opening look like Ferrari and crash structure design, and rake seems like Red Bull philosophy F1 car. Indeed, Mario Master says it looks like a cool yellow bullet. Yep, that's a good way to describe it.
Right, so I've got it now. The top view of the Renault, so you can see a bit more, say, detail around the rear of the Renault, and you can also kind of get an idea for the side pods. And also, did someone say there about the engine intake being quite small?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of see it better here by looking at this, and also you can see the front wing. The detail is a lot less compared to last year's. You can't really see anything of the front wing in terms of the different layers it has. So yeah, this is a good angle, definitely, to look at, again, the side pods and the rear of the car. And also I can kind of see it more now that the rear wing color is a bit more yellow, as you were saying earlier, Nib. Yeah, it does look like a nice car. It really does. I cannot wait to see this on track. Right. Let me try and read out a few more comments if I can. Astro Stevo says, I reckon this car will win races. I don't think they will. If they do win a race in 2019, I think it'll be mostly because of luck. I don't think they'll have the pace to win a Grand Prix. They may have the pace if the Renault car is a lot better than we expected. They may have the pace to finish on the podium a couple times, but I don't think they'll be right up there pace-wise to win a Grand Prix or, you know, get on pole position or anything like that. It would be amazing if Renault won a race this year. Absolutely amazing if they did that. Danny Yoon says the front wings look quite different to the others so far. It's got a high middle area and lower towards the end plate, trying to create outwash. Exactly. And I pointed out, I think a few minutes ago, that the actual front wing does not go as wide as the tyres, which it is supposed to be for this year. They've used the end plates to do that, so they are trying, as the teams really are supposed to. They're trying to bring that downforce that they have lost, at least for the start of 2019. They're trying to bring it back as soon as possible, and that's what Renault are trying to do. They're trying to get as much downforce on the front of the car, and even if they, find a clever way around it, they're going to get around it, because they have to try, if they can, to make back that downforce, because it is, I'd say, for the first few races, I don't think the cars are going to be as quick as the 2018 cars, but I think definitely from the mid-season point on, we are going to see lap records again, especially in qualifying. In the races, maybe not, we'll have to see, but these new regulations are not going to slow the cars down as much as people think. These cars are probably only going to be 1 to 2 seconds a lap slower in the first few races, but then once we get to the end of the season, these cars will actually be faster than last year. Right, let me read out some more comments. Crystal Racing says, serious 2009 vibes around. With the front wing, yeah. With the rest of the car, though, I'll be honest, when it comes to the rear wing, you can't really get an idea for it on this angle, but you can't really tell that the rear wing is different for this year compared to last year. The rear wings for this year are slightly taller and slightly wider, but you can't really tell that they're any different to last year. With the front wings you can, because the actual detail and the meat of the front wing is a lot different, and that's the biggest difference between these regulations and last year's regulations. But with the rear wing, you can't really tell the difference between a 2018 rear wing and a 2019 rear wing. You really can't tell the difference. Right, let me read out a load more. John Huebner says Ferrari is going with a flat/matte red. Yeah, I have seen rumours of that. That might be very interesting to see. That they might be going back to, say, a 2008 kind of livery that Ferrari had back then. Timmy would love to see the camera pan to Helmut Marko when Ricciardo finishes ahead of Verstappen, or sorry, he said crash Stappen. I thought he said Verstappen, but he said crash Stappen. Yeah, that would be if Renault in the first couple races actually beat Red Bull in the races, and say Renault get a podium before Red Bull do. That is going to be so embarrassing to Red Bull. So embarrassing, but...
Right, now calm down. Calm down.
We'll see. We'll see. But I don't think they will. I don't think they will. Someone just asked for a front view. So let me try and get that up. There you go. That is the front end of the car. Again, with the rear wing, I say it again, you can't really tell the difference. But with the front wing, if you compare it to last year, there's a clear difference. There's a clear difference. And I'll bring up the old picture again of the 2018 Renault. So this is the 2019 front wing. And then here is the 2018 front wing. So again, 2018 with that front wing, not as wide as the 2019 one, and a lot more detail, especially on the outer parts of the wing, which was creating the outwash. But then when you go back to the 2019 one, a lot more simpler, and also some differences on the outer end of the end plate there as well. So you can tell the differences between the 2018 front wing and the the 2018 front wing and the 2019 front wing. Again, you can see more detail and not as wide. But then with this one, wider and less detail, and hopefully will improve the racing this year. Right, let me go through a load more. Crystal Racing 2019 cars are much better looking than last year's cars. I do think the front wings look a lot better than last year's. I didn't like last year's front wings. I don't think they looked that good. I like the look more of this year's front wings because they look simpler and they don't look as complicated as last year's did. Hold on a minute. Just seeing some people there saying what they want me to do. He was saying, I think someone just said zoom into the rear wing. I guess this is really the best I can do is by doing this. So you can kinda see slight differences between last year's rear wings and this year's. But again, it's not massive. You can't massively tell the difference like you could with the front wings so far compared to last year. Right. Doco music, the rear wing is huge. Nib, also, if you do have a rear end facing shot and maybe also a shot of the drivers with the car, if you can find that, then send it to me. If you can't, then don't worry about it. But also, I think we can get kind of a better idea if you, at looking at the side pods. If I just scroll down a bit, you can kind of, well, you can tell if you look at, say, last year's Ferrari that the side pods are very similar. So I'll let that sit there for a moment so you guys can have a good view of that. Eric says, I'm going to start calling this car the Wasp from now on. Duke Gaming, do you think this is still the 4th fastest car, or will it break another milestone this year? I think realistically this year they are going to be 4th fastest, but it's going to be a lot stronger of a season than it was last year, because last year they didn't really have the 4th fastest car, even though they finished P4 in the Constructors. I think this year they'll finish P4 in the Constructors. They will dominate that position, and also will have the 4th fastest car instead of being 5th fastest and getting 4th because Haas didn't have enough experience to get that position. Right. So let me look at a load more comments. Al Martins, am I seeing 2 air intakes, one small up top and one just let me just read that. One small up top and one just behind where the top of the driver's helmet would be. Let me try. Which one is it? Is it this one? No, it's not that one. Just trying to find. I'm not sure if I can actually scroll down to look at it. But I think you might be able to get a good enough angle from there. Nib, looking at the screen right now, can you notice anything about the upper air intakes or the air intakes with this closer picture? I'm not sure if you can see it fully, but it's definitely better of an angle of those air intakes.
I'm not entirely sure what the guy was talking about. It's hard to really see how deep they are because of how dark the image is, but yeah, it's really hard to tell when it comes to that.
Yeah, it is. It's a very nitpicky type of area of the car, to be honest. Right, I'm just getting the image now of the driver stood next to the car. By the way, this picture of the driver stood next to the car. This car is not the actual Renault full 2019 car. What it is the 2019 livery with a 2019 front wing, and the rest of the car is 2018 spec. What you're seeing on your screen is a CGI render of the full 2019 car. So, yeah, just need to make that clear. Let me just get this up quickly to show you guys the drivers. So there you go. Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hulkenberg stood next to the Renault. Again, this Renault is, except for the front wing and the livery, is 2018, but this is the actual in the flesh car that was at the launch event. The CGI render, which is this. Let me, if I can, zoom out a bit. This Renault is... This is actually the 2019 car, but it's just a CGI render of it. It's not the actual car in reality, but it will be there, of course, for pre-season testing. But I'll go back to that one so you guys can see the drivers there. Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hulkenberg. Right. Someone saying there, air intake is really wide, probably trying to stabilize air towards the rear wing. Yep. Right, let me try if I can to read some comments. Fire Mario Flowers saying, please do same session tomorrow with... Hold on. Oh no, that's someone else. Duke Gaming saying, please do same session tomorrow with Mercedes. What our plan is, guys, for tomorrow is we're probably going to do 2 streams. We're going to be live tomorrow mid-morning, maybe lunchtime-ish, with the new Mercedes and the new Red Bull car, because I think Red Bull are going to reveal their car about the same time tomorrow as Mercedes, which is like 9 or 10 a.m. UK time. And then we'll go live again around 3:30, 4 p.m. UK time when Racing Point reveal their car and livery. So don't worry, tomorrow we will cover that, and we'll be very, very busy. And if you are new to the channel, by the way, don't forget to subscribe, because this week we are covering all the car reveals on the channel live. So don't forget to subscribe if you're new. On the bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or click on my channel name, go to the channel page, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell for more content like this. Right. Let's go through a load more comments. There's so many comments. By the way, thank you guys for coming along. Really appreciate you guys coming along at this time, and yeah, joining in the conversation and looking at the this new Renault. Timmy says, makes sense to shrink air intakes to reduce drag without compromising cooling. Absolutely. Right. Let me try to find some more good ones in here. Vicky says, black and yellow, not too catchy. Can you do a comparison between 19 front wing Renault to Toro Rosso? Maybe. Hold on a minute. Let me just see if I've got the Toro Rosso picture still saved.
I did send you an image on Twitter if you need to drag it in, because I did want to talk about the front wing of the Toro Rosso compared to the Renault.
What, have you just sent it to me?
I sent it probably 20 minutes ago now.
Okay, right, I'll just quickly throw that on the screen then, and then you guys can see that. Right, read out some more comments whilst I get this up on the screen.
Yep. Crystal Racing says Renault will probably finish higher in the constructors because of their drivers, something Haas did not have last year nor this year. Yep, I agree. The drivers are definitely very important. If Grosjean had performed to his potential and consistently at the start of the season, Haas would have had fourth in the constructors very, very comfortably. Danny is saying, love the clean look of the yellow inside from front end plate. There is a lot of real estate there, potential sponsor area, though I hope they leave it clean. Davy Davies, that's a nice name. In a perfect world, they will challenge the top three, but realistically, it will be like last year. Well, Renault will certainly hope that they're closer to the top three. I don't think they're expecting to challenge the top three this year. Yes, that's the image that I sent you.
Right, so this is, guys, a comparison of last year's Toro Rosso front wing and this year's, and I'll also compare it to the Renault one in a minute. But now you can properly see the difference in a 2018 front wing and a 2019 front wing. You look at that. The bottom one is the 2019 one. The one on the top is the 2018 one. Look at the detail on the 2018 one compared to this year's one. A lot more detailed, especially on the outer parts of the wing. And then for this year, it's very simple. And that's what it should be. It should not be as complicated as it has been for the last couple years. And now, if we compare the bottom part, the bottom front wing, which is the 2019 front wing of the Toro Rosso, to the Renault, you can now see the differences. Now, so just memorize this Renault one a minute, and we go back to the Toro Rosso one. Now, to me, again, not massively, but there does seem to be more detail on the Renault one than the Toro Rosso one, but not massively so far. So again, look at the bottom front wing, which is the 2019 front wing of the Toro Rosso. And then we go to the Renault one, and there is more detail on the Renault one, but not, massively. There's not massive differences, but to me, the Renault front wing looks to have more detail, slightly more detail than the Toro Rosso nib. In comparison between the Toro Rosso front wing and the Renault, what differences do you see, or do you see basically what I'm seeing?
Well, for me, there are absolutely massive differences. With the Toro Rosso, it looks like they haven't really cared about where the air is going from the rear wing. Obviously, they've got the little the end plates and everything to mold where the air goes. But with the Renault, hang on, let me just go back to that photo on my iPad. Where is it? Here we go. It looks like they've tried to shape the air outside of the front tire, which we actually haven't seen yet, which is what, of course, the front wings of last year did with the Cascade elements. The teams wanted to get the air out around the outside of the front tire to avoid that sort of turbulent air. So it looks like Renault are the only team who have tried to do that with their front wing, with the way it is actually shaped. And Toro Rosso have absolutely not done that. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a concept that is sort of copied throughout the year, because this is a very good front wing design here by Renault, in my opinion. They've shaped the top element of the front wing upwards, and with the curves, they've got it perfectly, so it does look like everything aims up for the air to go around the outside of the tyre, which we have not seen from Haas, Williams, or indeed who else is
Toro Rosso.
Yeah, so very innovative front wing in these sort of regulations where you can't be so innovative with the front wing.
Yeah, again, I think as I said a few minutes ago, what they're trying to do is make back the downforce that they are at the moment losing with these new front wings. And to get more front downforce like they were last year, they have to try, if they can, and force the air to go around the tire, as Nib was saying. And it looks as though Renault are doing exactly that. And if they can do that, then, well, these new regulations don't really mean anything, but hopefully they do make some kind of difference. But there you can see the differences. Again, I'll show you this. Again, the bottom part, the bottom front wing on this picture is the 2019 Toro Rosso front wing. The one on the top is the 2018 front wing. So you can see the differences in 2018 front wings and 2019 front wings. And then compare it to the Renault. And yeah, there is definitely differences. For me, not massive that I can notice, but of course, Nib is going to notice different things compared to me. But yeah, Renault have an interesting front wing concept. But right. Crystal Racing says most of these cars are interim designs from last October to avoid other teams getting a sneak peek. Latest aero pieces with camouflage paint will appear in Barcelona. That's one thing I do have to stress is that really the pictures of the new cars we have seen are computer renders. They're not real, really. So, you know, we won't actually see these things in reality until the first day of testing. Because I think didn't Cyril Beatball say that the reason in the flesh at the launch they weren't showing the full 2019 car is because they are working so hard basically to get as much downforce on the new car as they can.
Yes, and I also did see that they are struggling to get everything ready in time for Barcelona, as I'm sure most teams are. But yeah, that's the reason why they didn't have it in the flesh.
Yeah, I don't think it's a worrying thing really, because when there's new regulations and you're trying to make back downforce, you need to be pushing it to the limit in terms of time. Because if you can get more downforce on the car, then you need to do that. So yeah, that's not a massively worrying thing, to be honest, when it comes to Renault and their preseason testing. Mario Master says we haven't seen the 2019 Ferrari and Mercedes, so we don't know at all if they are on par with the top two. I cannot wait to see the car reveals tomorrow. Mercedes, then Red Bull, basically at the same time, and then Racing Point. They're probably going to do a 2019 car reveal, not in person at the, I think it's the Toronto Motor Show, but they will have a new livery. And also, they'll probably release a computer render of the new 2019 car. So, yeah, I cannot wait for tomorrow. Davey Dave is, I think it is. Guys, in all seriousness, do we all seriously believe Honda will have more horsepower than Renault this year? Well, at the end of 2018, they did have more horsepower, not by a massive gap, but again, they did at the end of 2018, so it's not impossible that that could happen again for 2019. Right, what I'm going to do, as we are now coming to near the end of this stream / video, I'm going to try and get through, say, another, I don't know, 5 or 6 comments, and then I will come to the end of this stream. And again, guys, thank you for coming along. It has been great as always. Right, let me just take a look. And by the way, if I have missed your comments in the chat, don't forget to post them in the comment section, and I'll try to respond to as many as I can in the next few hours or so. Someone saying that Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, and Red Bull will be the most interesting. Alfa Romeo, their reveal is the only one we're not going to be covering live for the channel because it takes place on the first day of testing. So we're going to look at it anyway when we do our review of the first day of testing. So we're not going to do a stream for that, but we will cover it and take a look at it and, you know, stuff like that. So don't worry, we will cover that when that happens on the first day of testing. Right, let's find a few more comments. Then I'll come to the end of this stream. Astro Stevo, bring on testing and racing. Cannot wait for the season to start. Absolutely, I'm with you there. Right, let me. I'm trying to find. There's so many good comments. I'm trying to find a good few to end on. Alexandre Bueno, I think it is, says Ferrari will deliver. Hopefully they do finally. Just looking. Will Ferrari have the Mission Winnow logo on the car in Melbourne? Now, I've seen this controversy because I think the authorities in Australia think it's a tobacco sponsorship, and I'll be honest, I don't know what the law is out there. Nib, will that be allowed? Will they be allowed to show that, or will they not because it'll be breaking the law or something?
I have no idea, but we are very strict in Victoria, especially on tobacco sponsoring and stuff like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's not on the car.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I don't think it will be on the car because with the way the world has been going in the last 20, 25 years, you see less and less tobacco or even alcohol sponsorship. Not only in F1 but just sport in general. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be on the car. Robert Evans, do you think McLaren will follow Renault's design? I think teams like McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, I wouldn't be surprised if they had something similar to Renault, because I'm assuming, you know, there's plenty of smart people up and down the pit lane. A lot of them are going to come to the same conclusion in terms of how they design their car. So I would imagine that Mercedes and Ferrari, for example, would go for something similar. Hello to Dorazzo, I think it is in the chat. Right. I'm going to read out a couple more comments and then I will end the stream. Davey says, thing is, Red Bull ended up performing really well by the end of 2018. I reckon Renault got their act together power-wise too. Honda and Toro Rosso finished, third last? True, but I think Renault at the end of 2018 did have a slight improvement. I think they only did that really because they needed to make sure of P4 on the constructors, but from Spa on last year, I think Honda did have the better power unit. Someone else saying, interesting how Red Bull and Mercedes will match up. It'll be very interesting to see the different concepts that they have gone for, and I'll definitely tomorrow be comparing the two cars and how they look, especially at the vital aerodynamic parts of the car. And the last comment, guys, is from Timmy Schnitzel, who says McLaren have announced partnership or sponsorship with British American Tobacco for their e-cigarette products. Will be interesting to see how that is treated in various jurisdictions. Sorry about mispronouncing that. It's a very difficult word for me to pronounce. Yeah, that's a weird sponsorship. They used to be the owners of BAR, I think, when they first came into Formula One. So yeah, that's a weird sponsorship. I don't know how it's going to work, though. I don't know if they're going to bypass certain rules. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think now, as I show the last couple images of the 2019 Renault, there's the side-on view. There's the top view. And there you go, guys. That has been it for today's stream, looking at the new 2019 Renault. Thank you guys for coming along. And as ever, thank you to Nib for coming along and analysing the new Renault cars. So again, thanks, mate.
Thank you, mate. I do just want to point something out very quickly, which I hadn't noticed at all. There's no slots or cuts in the floor on the CGI of the Renault car, so definitely expecting some more development in that area of the car for Renault, and we will see that come, but the first day of Barcelona testing, more than likely.
Yep, I don't notice that either. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, again, mate, thank you very much for coming along and helping out with the video. And guys, again, thank you very much for coming along, posting your comments in the chat, what you think of the new Renault car and all of that. Thank you very much. And by the way, if you are new to the channel, during this week, we're going to be covering the car reveals live straight after they are revealed. So don't forget to subscribe if you're new. For more content like this, you can either do it on the bottom right of the screen, click subscribe right there, or click on my channel name, go to the page on my channel page and subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell. Like this video, comment down below what you thought of this video, and comment down below what do you think of the Renault livery. It's pretty much the same as last year, but what do you think of it? And what do you think of the aero pieces, very interesting aero pieces on the new Renault car? And as well, don't forget to join our Discord server, link below in the description. That is the best place to get notifications for my videos and streams or whatever I'm doing. So join the Discord down below. And also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110 and check out my website chazerhd.com for more content like this. But until tomorrow, guys, where we are going to be doing 2 separate streams, most likely. One doing Mercedes and Red Bull, and then another doing the Racing Point reveal. Until then, and until tomorrow, it's been me, ChazerHD. Goodbye.